Hey all, goemonronin here. I'm trying to put out more content. You probably just watched my video on the 7 issues I have with other Texans. So this is going to be 7 issues I have with Texas. Now, the crazy thing is, Texas is kind of a weird state because a lot of the issues you have with it you can also like from a certain point of view or aspect. It's a little bit confusing, but it does tend to work that way. I think it could probably work that way from many angles. So probably my number one issue, this isn't necessarily in any order, but the first thing that came to mind was the heat. Okay, it gets hot in Texas. You know, once, and it's hot a lot of the year, okay? You know, I kind of consider in the high 80s to start being hot, and it will stay in the high 80s sometimes until around Halloween, okay? And that's up here, all right? Down in the valley, in the Rio Grande Valley, it's even hotter. I've seen 115 degrees on a bank thermometer there, okay? That's not really even counting the heat index a lot of the time. And I remember having Christmases in the valley that were in the 90s, like, you know, let's go swimming for Christmas, all right? Now, it does tend to be a little more cool up here in the DFW area. In fact, we usually get at least some snow most years. There were a couple of years here recently where it didn't snow, but it gets just blisteringly hot up here too. You know, it'll be in the high 90s, triple digits a lot of the summer, also kind of into September or October sometimes. It looks like it's going to be a little bit cooler October this year, and when it rains it really cools things off. So it's going to spend a lot of this week raining, apparently, and the cloud cover really will cut the heat down quite a bit. Because in DFW it's a little bit less about the humidity and more about radiant heat from the sun. The lid will just come off up here. It could be completely overcast when you get up in the morning and be a nice, like, cool morning, but around 11 o'clock, if you see the sun peek out at all, it's going to burn all that overcast off, and it's going to be just a blue sky, like, lit off sunny day, and the sun is just going to cook you. Whereas in the valley, it can be like really, really cloudy during the summer, and you might not get sun all the time, but the humidity down there is just brutal, okay? The heat in this state is not good, and it is too hot for too much of the year. I would say it spends at least half the year being what you would call too hot. The valley has basically 2 seasons, kind of a summer and then a fall that has some Indian summer involved in it. And then up here, I would say up here has 4 seasons, but fall and winter can be kind of on the short side. And sometimes it gets brutally cold up here in DFW, and you're just kind of waiting for the heat to come back. And there's another thing. A lot of people up north that move here might like the heat here. So, the heat. Number 2, the general bigotry. A lot of the people that kind of live in this state are just bigoted in one way or another, and they tend to feel like you should be bigoted in that same way. And you tend to get that feeling a lot. It's very hard just to have a normal conversation with somebody who isn't exactly like you, which is why people like me just don't have a lot of friends. You know, we choose our friends very carefully because, you know, we're not looking to get in an argument every time we have a conversation. I do have one really good friend currently who does not see things the way I do at all. The fact that we're friends is kind of staggering, actually. We are hanging out, not as much, but you know, it is very. I end up having to change the subject a lot to something that we generally agree on, like music or something like that, rather than what we're talking about. Number 3, the job market. I'm not sure about the tech market right now or anything like that. I don't tend to have enough on my resume to warrant that kind of position. But I can tell you right now that if you want like a retail job, or you want like just a $15 to $20 an hour job, that is not as easy to get right now as it was to get, you know, even just a few years ago. So the job market here has really changed, and that has a lot to do with number 7 on my list here. But just getting a job in this state isn't any easier than it is to get a job anywhere else right now, despite what you might hear. Okay, I mean, if you can go down there and work for SpaceX, I mean, I guess that's one thing. But you know, most of us aren't suited to working that kind of position. So just the job market sucks. Excuse me. Number 4, the power grid. As a lot of people probably know, Texas is kind of big enough to be a country, and because of that, I guess, we have our own independent power grid. And in all honesty, it's not always sufficient. During the hot part of the summer and stuff like that, they can roll blackouts and things like that. I have lost power during the summer just in this RV, you know, and it's just not really sufficient. I'm not really sure what's going to happen when, you know, we really do start moving to mostly electric vehicles and stuff like that. I just don't see how our grid is going to support it. You know, when the grid goes out somewhere else, they can generally get auxiliary from another area, sometimes even another state. We only have the option of getting auxiliary from within this state, and again, a lot of times it's stretched thin anyway. So there have been a lot of rolling blackouts during the summer over the past few years. I'm not sure about the valley. It's not really happened while I've been home, if I've been home during the summer, but it has happened up here, and it's very frustrating. Number 5, the housing market. It's very expensive. You know, houses are all houses are kind of in the 6 figures. I'm not sure about down south, but up here, everything's 6 figures, and property taxes are just kind of off the charts. A lot of people are trying to look into alternative housing, like the arched cabins or prefabbed homes, used mobile homes, things like that. All these types of living are starting to get a little bit more popular up here, especially amongst the unconventional crowd. A lot of people just aren't willing to do that. That would be maybe another corollary about Texans in general, is I hear I can't from them a lot. I can't do that. I can't live in a mobile home. That's weird. That's not normal. That's weird. I don't know if I like you because you're okay with that. But yeah, the housing market is just off the hook. It's not. I don't know that housing's affordable anywhere right now. It's probably getting ready to be, because people are voluntarily just giving up their house because they can't pay for it. You know, probably getting ready to be a lot of houses on the market, you know. Watch my other video about universal basic vouchers, and you'll see what I think they ought to do with all those spare houses. Number 6, sometimes the state is just too big. You know, a lot of times you only have a weekend to travel, and, you know, by the time you get where you're going, you're going to have to get back on the thing you traveled there on and leave, you know. It's like going home for lunch if you work half an hour away, right? If it takes you 25 minutes, half an hour to get to work, and you're going to go home for lunch, I mean, you literally have about 10 or 20 minutes to spend at home. You know, you'd better be running home because you need to, and you forgot to turn the oven off or feed your cats or something like that, right? Speaking of cats, you've been very, very good these last 2 videos. Please continue to do so. So everything in this state, and Q-Dog mentioned this on another post of mine, everything in this state, or even seemingly in town, is really far apart. It's kind of normal in this state to work half an hour from home, and you know, you've got to remember that is all time that you're not getting paid. Your travel time to work, unless there is something written into your work contract where they will reimburse you for that, your travel time to work and back is not covered. You know, I would really like to work someplace, you know, 5 minutes from home or something like that, but you know, even that is difficult here, and just trying to have a vacation over your weekend is really difficult as well, because I mean, when you get down to it, you get to enjoy about 12 hours wherever you're going, and then you've pretty much got to come back. And number 7, this can affect a lot of the other things that I mentioned here. It's become a popular place to move, okay? Texas is adding like 500,000 new residents a year sometimes, like 600,000 new residents. I read this somewhere recently. I think it was like 2018, Texas added like 600,000 new residents, okay? There are 11,000 people a month moving to the DFW area, and they are literally having to build infrastructure to support all of this. You know what I mean? Like there's not enough roads and space, and it's just become so crowded. It's sort of like it's not a big state. It feels like it's not a big state, the way that everything works out, and that can be really, really frustrating, because you know, there's supposed to be a lot of space around here, and you know, there are a lot of places where there aren't any houses built and stuff like that, like say up here, and it's just a wooded area, but you know, there are a lot of like groups and everything like that that don't want those wooded areas interfered with as well. And even if you did build housing there, it's not necessarily near anything. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Stuff might grow up around it eventually, but I mean, there's not necessarily a quick solution to this problem. People could stop moving here. You know, it's, you know, pick a different place. If you're thinking about moving to Texas, maybe we don't want you. We can't take you. We're pretty full up. All right, just go somewhere else. You know, you want someplace hot? I hear Arizona's nice. You know, you want someplace with like a lot of fishing and stuff? I hear Florida's nice. You know, despite the ginormous size of the state, the crowding from transplants from, you know, the most transplants are from, it turns out, California, Michigan, and New Jersey, from what I've researched. I can't tell you how many people I know who have moved here from Detroit. Like, just, I guess the cold got to them up there and they wanted to move to the hottest place possible or something like that. they're generally sorry that they did that, or didn't pick a more, centrally located spot. Like, I've been to Oklahoma a lot, and aside from the tornado problem, if you were to discount that, Oklahoma is generally like 6 degrees cooler than Texas on any given day. It gets colder, so if you do like seeing snow, and it's a much cheaper cost of living there. It would actually be a better move for most people than moving to Texas, I think. Anyway, so that is 7 issues I have with the great state of Texas. Again, I was born and raised here, aside from the few years I lived in China, so I am not talking out my ass. I'm probably going to try and get these 2 videos up today, and I might do a shorter video from the hotspot, assuming you guys can stand the background noise. Anyway, this is goemonronin, and Joe here, signing off. Do have a wonderful day. Thanks for staying to the end, and please subscribe to my channel.